Hey guys, thank you for being here this morning. I want to touch on a few things. These are just my thoughts. Start off, I'm not a economist, I'm not a financial advisor, but these are just some perspectives that I have, and I think are cool to hear. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna try to break down something that's real complicated, but I think it's important for everyone to know because you'll know how to move and make your decisions based on it. All right, everything's frozen in the economy. There's no commerce, or very limited commerce, only essential commerce at this point. And before this all happened, interest rates were at an all-time low. Interest rates were for borrowers were at a all-time low. Question number one, what does that mean when interest rates were at an all-time low? Question number two, why are interest rates that low and what does that mean? Okay. So question number one, why does interest rates go down? Interest rates go down because the Federal Reserve, who print and provide the debt note, which is money, they lower interest rates to try to stimulate or influence the economy, which is us, the consumers, to spend more money. Okay? Why do they need us to spend more money? The reason why they need us to spend more money when they lower interest rates is because we are the ones that help circulate the debt note, which is cash, throughout an economy which pays the interest on the debt. On the debt. So, what does that mean? That means that before this all happened, they needed us to spend money in order to service our debt. They needed money circulating throughout the economy, right? When interest rates go up, it's because there's too much money in the economy or too many debt notes in the economy. Therefore, interest rates go up and spenders contract, which means that they don't spend as much, and it allows it basically slows down the economy. So how is that a bad thing for what has happened? So if interest rates were already at an all-time low before this ever happened, and then this happened, the economy stops overnight, ceases overnight. That means that there's no money circulating through the economy at all. I would argue that the economy as we know it has already taken a turn. I would look at it as a patient who has a heart that is 95% blocked with plaque, and there's a 5%, and he's in open heart surgery, and there's a 5% chance that he's going to make it. And that 5% chance is a Hail Mary thrown by the Fed. The Fed just said we will buy all debt. They're going to buy corporate debt. They're going to buy basically everything. And then they're going to give consumers like us checks. Why do they need to give us checks? Well, there's several reasons. Number one, because unemployment is at an all-time high. Over 3 million people applied for unemployment just last week, which means that probably the next week, the highest numbers that unemployment has ever been. Listen, the highest numbers of filing for unemployment in a week has ever been in the history of the United States was 700,000. We had over 3 million people apply for unemployment in a week. Do you understand what that means? That means that next week it's probably going to be 12. That means that there's no money pumping through the economy. If you know history, these are similar parallels to a very, very dark time at the end of 1929. And it mainly started because there was nobody working. So let's go back to what we're talking about. So why would the government give money? Did you know they had to go back and edit a piece of the bill that stated, if you're receiving unemployment, basically you can only receive up to the amount of 100% of what your job pay was, because some people was receiving more money, or would receive more money than they was even if they worked. Why this has never happened before in the history of America. Why is it that these things are going on? This same package is happening in Canada. It's happening around the world. Why are they giving their citizens money and not even and not even telling us the whole story of why they're willing to do so? They say that they're doing it to stimulate. They don't want people to feel like we're fighting for the Americans. We're fighting for the American, household. That has never been the way governments or corporate business function, period. I'll tell you why in this video. It's real simple. Interest rates were already at an all-time low. They were talking about going to negative interest rates, okay? If interest rates are at an all-time low, that means that they need you to spend as much money as possible. They don't want, and they cannot have people to come out of this whatever this is and start to hoard cash. If you hoard cash, which means if you do not spend that money, it would instantly send us into a very, very, very dark place in this country. Because no one is servicing the ultimate debt. The money is not flowing through the economy. This is another reason why the American system is a consumer system. It is built on consumption, services and consumption. We have to consume those dollars and keep them flowing through the system, or the system will break. It will break. And I'm trying to stay away from words like depression or recession. And they're saying words like, and in reality, nothing's moving right now. Everyone's at home. Is your personal economy at home flourishing? Or are you tightening up as if this is a recession or even a depression for some people? For some people, this is already depression. You have to look at the reality of where we are. If this continues for 60 days, a lockdown for 60 days, folks going to come out of this and they're not going to spend money. They're going to keep money. They're going to hold on to their money. There are times when prosperity change for a nation, and the nation becomes a nation of bull markets change to bear markets, and bear markets can go far lower than what people think. If the money does not float through the economy and circumvent through the economy as fast as it was in the beginning of February, before this all happened, then banks are going to tighten up lending. Right? Banks are going to tighten up lending. They're going to contract on their lending. Inflation's going to go up. That means all interest rates are going to go up, because now the money supply it just naturally will inflate, because there'll be too much money out. It ain't circumventing going back to the Fed. It ain't circumventing through the economy. That means people are hoarding money. So it'll naturally cause things to inflate. Price of bread, price of food, And then, depending on how much money is out in the economy, will determine the rate of which inflation would happen. If they put $2 trillion out in the economy and a very small amount of that come back through, they're putting it out there so we can spend it. If we don't spend it, then inflation is going to skyrocket. This can get a lot worse than what it is. It's definitely possible. And there's certain things happen when there's certain investments make sense during inflationary times. There'll be a part 2 of this coming up, just a rant.